Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to talk to you guys a little bit about some of the hardcore training methods you see promoted on YouTube that don't really work. That actually, if anything, can be counterproductive, waste of time, and end up causing you overuse injuries and everything else. So let me put on my +5 out of weaponsmithing, work on skilling up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about some of these. Obviously, we got crazy stuff that no sane person would actually think is a good idea, like the 8-hour arm workout. Truth be told, guys, most of you probably know most lifting that takes you beyond about 60 to 90 minutes in the gym, I promise you, you're not gaining a single drop of extra muscle from being in there that long. All you're doing at that point is burning through calories, burning into your recovery, just messing with everything. Honestly, if you want to train that long, go do some cardio. The cardio will do more for you, even for the calorie burn. I mean, if that's what your goal is, by all means, go do it. But coming in and just trying to lift weights for hours thinking you're going to get a benefit from it, maybe some people will with the right genetic gifts on hefty doses of drugs. 99% of people is absolutely not going to be any benefit to that. I mean, to training even 2 hours, probably not going to help you. Again, other than for endurance and cardio purposes. But as far as lifting goes, absolutely insane. There's no reason to be in the gym even 2 hours lifting, let alone 8 hours. Absolute insanity. But let's talk about just some of the various volume methods and stuff that people do that don't actually really work compared to some of just basic training methods that are out there. How about when you guys see people coming in and doing drop sets? And doing drop sets on isolation exercises. I mean, this is really, really ridiculous when you see it, because you'll see guys come in and they'll be doing drop sets down the rack. They'll be starting with a, decently respectable dumbbell, even for their size, doing curls or something, and they're grunting and straining and they hit failure. And then they go to a lighter dumbbell and they try to rep out more reps, and it's oftentimes called running the rack. But these guys will be taking this stuff to just failure, and they're grunting and huffing and puffing, and before long they're down to like 15-pound dumbbells or 10-pound dumbbells, grunting and huffing and puffing. All right, guys, the reality is this doesn't even work. What I mean is even Brad Schoenfeld did a study a while back showing that if you have to reduce rest time so much between sets on an exercise that you have to reduce the weight you're using, you gain less muscle from it. All right, you gain less muscle than had you just waited long enough to repeat another set with the same weight. Like this was found in his research. So I mean, people doing shit like this just trying to get more volume and thinking they're getting more fibers or whatever recruited, it actually doesn't work. It's bullshit. You're better off if you started with 40-pound dumbbells and you can do a set of 10 with those. You're better waiting long enough to curl the 40-pound dumbbells again for the next set. You're actually going to get more gains out of it. But people need to understand, even extra sets, there's a point of diminished returns with every set that you do. You don't double your muscle gains by doubling your number of sets. Even by going from 1 to 2, you get a little more. You get a little more by doing multiple sets. I'm not telling people they needed to be doing strictly 1 set. But you do need to factor that in. You are getting diminished returns. But what we do find is that doing the sets with the same weight, waiting long enough produces more muscle growth. You're doing more total workload. You're using a heavier weight for the same number of reps, dropping it down to where you're having to do 10s or 15s. If you started with 40s for 10 reps, you are not gaining as much muscle. And then you look like a jackass because you're grunting and huffing and puffing with little tiny weights, and you actually think you're working hard, but you aren't. You really aren't. Because again, you're not working hard. You're fucking around with little tiny dumbbells that you should be able to do 50 reps with. Now, if you came in and you did 50 reps with those 15s, all right, that might be different. But you're just doing a bunch of little light work, and people over-exaggerate this as grunting and huffing and puffing with these little light weights. You're training your fucking biceps, guys. Come on. Biceps don't require much work even to contract maximally, not to the point to where you've got to grunt or make any sounds to do it. I understand, making noise when you're pulling 500-600 pounds on the deadlift, but the bicep doesn't actually require effort through the whole body to contract. And if you are grunting and turning red and everything else, you're probably using your whole body to try to swing the thing anyways. Just do your curls right. These are little isolation exercises, and guys will do this stuff. But the reality is drop sets don't work. They don't work. If you're going to extend sets, you know what has been found to work, and there have been at least some data on it? Rest pause training. All right, you use a weight that you can only do 5 to 10 reps with, a fairly heavy weight, and particularly on big heavy movements, like your deadlifts or your barbell rows or something, a big heavy compound. You get to where you do 5 or 10 reps on one of those, and then you have to stop, and then you wait a few seconds and grind out another rep. Wait a few seconds and hit another rep. Wait a few seconds, hit another rep. Particularly if you can get a couple reps on some of those. That has been found to have enormous muscle growth benefits. That actually works almost as well as adding another set. All right, so in other words, if you do a 10 rep set or an 8 rep set and it's almost a max, when you come back and you wait a few seconds and you hit 2 more reps, it actually adds almost as much growth as if you had done another set, like another set of 8 reps. At least in a couple of Australian studies I saw done a few years back. They found this actually works. That works, and because you're still using a big weight and you're still a little bit exhausted, so you're hitting the upper threshold fibers again that you hit when you get close to muscle failure with a big heavy weight, and you're still using that heavier weight. It works really, really well for hitting those same upper threshold muscle fibers again. With a lot of bodybuilders and people are trying to call deep fibers the harder ones to get to. You can do it that way. That works. But these just drop sets, they don't work. And you know, the whole thing is everyone's always trying to promote high volume training all the time. You see a ton of that on YouTube. But you know, the thing is, guys, yes, high volume training is a very, very valuable tool for putting size on. It can be a valuable tool for putting strength on. I mean, high set training even has its place for explosive power training. For Olympic lifters, for athletes who need explosive power, even power lifters. I mean, there is a place for that. But if you're coming in and you're thinking that you need to just be doing ultra high volume training year round all the time, no, you can find undulating volume, increasing volume when you need to get through plateaus. A very effective method. Very effective. Like if you've stalled a little while and you start increasing the number of sets you're doing, that is an absolute way to increase and spur on new muscle growth. When you kind of have stalled a little bit. It's like adding volume to break through a plateau because you can't get any stronger. You can't do any more sets. You can't do any more reps. Like, you know, your whatever exercise, your barbell rows or something, you've been stuck at 200 pounds for 10 reps. You can't progress beyond that on any of your sets. When you start adding sets, and you'll get stronger at it. All right, you'll get stronger. That's a valuable method of doing it, but everyone's always promoting all this high volume training all the time. You know what a lot of that does? High volume training just used recklessly and indiscriminately. It hurts you. It actually can injure you. And it tends to tear up connective tissue. It causes inflammation. It causes tearing and stuff in your connective tissue. It doesn't ever get to recover. It doesn't get to heal. It causes inflammation. It causes tendinitis, all sorts of problems. I want you to look at something. Look at how many guys you see, look around on YouTube, who promote high volume training, who are always doing high sets all the time. Look how many of them are using sleeves and wraps because they have joints that hurt. They have tendons that hurt. All right, that means that they are fucking up. That's what that actually means. Because these things are not designed to prevent injuries. All right, when you're using these devices, they serve a purpose, but it's generally to help you lift more weight. And in some cases, they're helpful for people who have arthritis and stuff in these joints. But as far as them preventing injuries, they do not. So if these connective tissue and things are hurting, what they're doing is they're blunting the pain. They're blunting the pain so that they can train and not notice the pain. Because they get tight around those areas and everything. They can cut blood flow off a little bit, so it blunts the pain response. You really think you should be blunting pain response to something that's injuring you? It's a bad idea. That's how you get hurt. That pain's there for a reason. That pain is there to tell you, hey, dumbass, you're doing something wrong. Fucking stop it. That's what your body's telling you when you experience pain. All right? That's a very, very clear message that your body experiences. And it's a clear message that it sends to you. It's not a good thing. Guys are like, oh, pain, no gain. Those people are fucking retarded. You're not supposed to experience pain when you train. You guys watched me. What did I do back in December? I think I deadlifted on camera, kind of to celebrate me turning 40. 500-pound beltless deadlift. Just in work boots, no belt, no straps. I did 500 pounds for 7 reps, right? No grinders. I left a rep in the tank. Do you think that hurt? No, it didn't hurt because it was within my capabilities. It didn't hurt. I wasn't sore the next day either because I stayed within my recovery capabilities. You shouldn't be hurt from training. And when people are doing high volume training all the time and their body's hurting, that's body sending them a message, telling them you don't know what the fuck you're doing, you need to stop. And so you see all these guys, they're always got wraps, they always got sleeves, everything else. want you to think about that for a minute. You really think that's a good idea? You really think you should be emulating people who are pushing all this high volume training as the hardcore best way to train when they're on the edge of being snapped up? What I tell people is that training volume is a valuable tool for pushing through plateaus. Increasing volume when you've stopped growing, when you're not responding to certain things, you can't get stronger anymore, is a fantastic way to spur on growth. But you need to undulate volume. You need to go through phases of use different volumes on your training. Use the appropriate amount of volume for your training for the kind of workloads and everything that you're trying to do, and to stay within your maximum recoverable volume. But you know, all these drop sets, all this hardcore high volume training, everyone always pushing everything to where they think you're supposed to be exhausted when you leave the gym. That's all bullshit, guys. And the guys you see promoting this, the reason they look good is because they're on hefty doses of gear, all right? They're genetically gifted guys who use a lot of gear. That's why they look good, all right? It's not this high-ass volume training they're all promoting all the time. It just isn't. They're genetics and drugs. The only reason half these guys get away with the training volumes that they use is because of the drugs. And here's the thing. People are like, well, high volume training is training hard. No, it's not. Not training hard at all. It's like saying going and running on a treadmill for 2 hours is hard. If you can do it for 2 hours straight, it's not that hard. It's not that intense. Most of these guys do a little bit of hard work at the beginning, and then they just coast and fuck around with little light weights the rest of their workout. But you know what? Those light weights are messing up their tendons, they're messing up their joints, because they're subjecting them all the time to workloads they're not recovering from. And the fact that they're always all wrapped up, sleeves, wraps, everything else, I should tell you guys a lot about what's going on with their connective tissue and their joints. They're clearly doing something wrong. And there's no need for any of this, guys. You can stick to the basics. You can do basic training and continue to grow indefinitely. You know what? I mean, very, very simple rule. You get stronger on a weighted chin-up. Every time you get stronger, I promise you your back and your biceps are going to grow. Your lats and your biceps are going to grow forever as long as you keep getting stronger on weighted chin-ups. That holds true for the noob, and that holds true for the advanced lifter. Do you really think that a big basic exercise that you increase the work you're doing on it stops making you get bigger? If it made you get bigger and added inches of muscle to you over time, do you really think that not continuing to progress on it is going to help you? Meaning, do you think that you're going to stop growing even though you continue to get better at the exercise, or you're able to do more work with it, or do more reps over time, add more weight over time? No, you're going to keep growing forever off of it. Now, as you get bigger, your growth will always slow down because there's always diminished returns. Our body doesn't want us to get bigger. It'll fight us. Every time we get a little bigger, it doesn't want us to get bigger. It will fight you a little bit. You'll get slower gains each year than you did the year before. But if you continue to work on the basic exercises, you're not going to stop growing. Your lats and your biceps are never going to stop growing from weighted chin-ups. All right? Your biceps are never going to stop growing from a barbell curl. It doesn't work that way. They don't stop growing as you increase workload just because things move on. You don't have to use these silly-ass hardcore training methods. Basic, intelligent, consistent training will help you continue to make progress for many, many years. And you know what? If you're smart about it, you'll do it injury-free and generally pain-free. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.